The message arrived like a sudden chill on a warm afternoon, sharp enough to steal the air from his lungs, because the words on the screen were simple yet terrifying. That car has been circling the playground, and in that instant Daniel Harper felt something ancient and primal awaken inside him, the kind of fear that only comes when the safety of your child is even slightly threatened. Because Daniel was not just a biker known on the highways for his calm strength and quiet discipline, he was also a father who had promised himself long ago that no harm would ever reach his family while he still had breath in his body. And as he stood beside his motorcycle in the fading sunlight of a small-town gas station, grease on his hands and dust on his boots, his mind raced faster than the engine beneath him, replaying the image of his wife Emily packing lunches in the early morning, kissing their daughter Lily's forehead, trusting that the world would be gentle enough for a playground filled with laughter and scraped knees, never imagining that a shadow might be circling just beyond the swings. And before this story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and people standing up for what truly matters, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Because stories like this connect hearts across the world, and Daniel did not waste a second. He swung his leg over the bike, the roar of the engine cutting through the quiet as he headed toward the school playground, the road blurring beneath him as memories surfaced of his own childhood, of being overlooked, of learning early that the world could be cruel if no one was watching, and that was why he had chosen the biker life, not for rebellion but for brotherhood, structure, and an unspoken code of protection for those who could not protect themselves. And as he rode, Emily's message replayed in his mind over and over, each time heavier than the last, because she had tried to sound calm, but he knew her too well, knew the way she chose words carefully when fear was clawing at her chest, knew that she would never send a message like that unless something felt deeply wrong. And when Daniel finally reached the playground, he did not rush in blindly. Instead he slowed, observing, scanning, noticing details the way years on the road had trained him to do, the laughter of children, the rhythm of swings, the clustered conversations of parents. And then he saw it, a dull gray sedan parked just beyond the fence line, engine idling, windows tinted, moving slowly forward, then stopping, then inching back again, a pattern too deliberate to be coincidence. And Daniel felt anger rise, hot and dangerous, but he forced himself to breathe, because this was not about intimidation or violence. This was about clarity, protection, and doing the right thing the right way. And as he parked his bike in plain sight, the symbol of his presence alone caused a shift in the air. Parents glanced over, whispers stirred, the car hesitated, and Daniel walked calmly toward the fence, every step measured, every sense alert, thinking of Lily's small hands wrapped around the swing chains earlier that day, thinking of Emily watching from a bench pretending to scroll on her phone while her instinct screamed. And this was the first challenge Daniel faced, the battle between impulse and responsibility, because he knew that one wrong move could escalate fear instead of dissolving it, and he also knew that too many times people looked away assuming someone else would act, and he refused to be that someone. And while he stood there, the car began to move again, slowly circling the perimeter, and Daniel noted the license plate, the timing, the way the driver avoided eye contact, and something inside him settled into focus, the kind of focus that comes when purpose outweighs fear. And he called the local authorities, providing details calmly, clearly, never raising his voice, never exaggerating, because truth was strong enough on its own. And while waiting, he positioned himself where he could be seen, not threatening, just present, a reminder that this playground was watched, guarded by more than fences and rules. And minutes felt like hours as the car continued its slow orbit, the children unaware, the parents increasingly uneasy, Emily's eyes meeting Daniel's from across the yard, filled with relief and trust. And in that moment he realized how fragile peace could be and how powerful simple vigilance was, because when the police arrived, lights flashing softly rather than dramatically, the car attempted to pull away, but it was stopped, questioned, searched, and what unfolded afterward sent a quiet shock through everyone present, because the driver was not lost, not waiting for someone, not making an innocent mistake, but someone with a history that raised serious concerns, someone who should never have been circling a place filled with children. And as the situation was handled, parents gathered their kids closer, gratitude mixed with lingering fear, and Emily hugged Lily tightly, tears finally spilling now that the danger had passed. And Daniel stood slightly apart, heart pounding, hands trembling just enough to remind him how close everything had come to going wrong. And this was the second challenge, the emotional aftermath, the weight of realizing that disaster had been avoided by minutes, by awareness, by a single text message that refused to be ignored. And in the days that followed, the story spread quietly through the town, not as a tale of heroism but as a lesson. Teachers reminded parents to trust their instincts, the school reviewed safety measures, neighbors watched out for one another a little more closely, and Daniel returned to his routines, riding highways, fixing engines, sharing coffee with fellow bikers. Yet something inside him had shifted, a deeper understanding that protection did not always look like confrontation. Sometimes it looked like showing up, staying calm, and choosing responsibility over rage. And Emily found herself replaying that moment again and again, realizing how close she had come to dismissing her unease, how easy it would have been to tell herself she was overreacting. And instead she learned to trust that quiet inner voice that exists for a reason. And Lily, too young to fully understand, simply knew that her parents were there, that the world could be scary but also full of people who cared enough to act. And as weeks turned into months, the playground felt lighter again, laughter returned without tension, yet the memory remained, not as fear but as awareness, a reminder that kindness is not passive, that second chances exist, but vigilance must walk alongside compassion. And Daniel often thought about how many moments like this go unnoticed, how many times ordinary people make extraordinary choices without applause. And if this story has touched your heart, if it made you feel that tightness in your chest that comes from imagining your own loved ones in danger, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and engage with it, because your interaction helps spread stories that matter, stories that remind us to look out for one another. And before this ends, I want to ask you something from the heart. Please comment below and tell us whether you believe instincts should always be trusted, because your words might encourage someone else to speak up one day. And in the quiet evenings when Daniel rides home, the road stretching endlessly ahead, he knows that strength is not just measured by how hard you can hit or how loud your engine roars, but by how quickly you respond when someone you love sends a simple message that changes everything. Because sometimes all it takes to protect a child, a family, a community, is the courage to pay attention, to care, and to act before it is too late.